Well, hello there. This is Tamil, and today we will talk about how to quickly colorize a black and white painting. The main tool that we will use is Gradient Map. It actually exists in different softwares too. So even if you don't have CSP, you can still follow along because concepts are pretty much the same. Let's just get into it. And first thing, some people might say, well, actually, you can use color mode in layers to add colors to your work. And yes, that's still an option and it's possible to do it that way. Color mode doesn't affect pure whites or pure blacks, it tries to keep them untouched. No matter how intense the color I pick, it will not apply. Plus, it makes for a muddy painting. Another reason is it does not give you a lot of hue variation. What is hue variation? Well, put it simply, if you look at this painting, you can see that the darker orange actually looks more purple, while the brighter orange looks more yellow. This is very hard to achieve when doing color mode. And oranges, they demand hue variation. They don't negotiate. This is a lot easier when using a gradient map. So, how does it actually work? A simple explanation is it turns your image into black and white first, and whatever is on the scale on the left is black. Whatever is on the right side, that is going to be white. It will use that line to colorize the image based on the values that you have painted. And it honestly took me only 142 years to learn this technique, so you're welcome. Liking and commenting, medically speaking, will make my soul younger. There are a few things to remember though. The colors you pick on the gradient will override everything. They don't represent what you have on the canvas. It sounds complicated, but here's a quick example. If your left color is kind of bright and your right color is kind of dark, then it will mess up your values. It will not care for what you have on the canvas. It will just do the math and apply that color to whatever you have. Here is a quick tip to double check that. You can always create a gradient map on top of the current gradient map with pure black and white. Gradientception, if you want to call it that, it will help you check if anything changed after you applied it. Just turn it on and off again to see the difference. Small changes are not bad. You can always paint on top and fix it in post. And I know saying fix it in post is like the last famous words before doing extra work, but it's actually not that bad, at least compared to painting from scratch. Pro tip: if you have a finished painting, you can just put black and white gradient to see it in grayscale. Check your work for good values, fix it, and then delete it later. Pretend like it was perfect from the beginning. Who's gonna catch you? Gradient police? So let's actually get into how to use it in Clip Studio Paint. This will be a little technical, so don't be afraid, it's pretty easy. First, you need a grayscale painting. Duh. Then you go into Layer, New Correction Layer, and then you click Gradient Map. You will be prompted with the mighty Gradient Map panel. As I said before, left is darker, right is brighter. The little box on the left already has a bunch of good presets that look decent. You can make your own presets as well. Just double click on them and it will be applied. At the bottom, you can see little buttons, and there's many of them. And I honestly think that the most important ones are the last three. That is duplicate, create new, and just delete the preset. Top arrows will let you move between points without clicking on them. If you want to go from point A to B to fix it. Otherwise, you can just click on them like a caveman. I'm not gonna judge. There's also reverse gradient and delete point. If you want to delete a point, you can also drag it and just pull it away. To add a point, just click anywhere on the map and it will add a new point. You can slide it around. To slide the color, just drag it and that's it. There's no secret to it. Just drag it. That's it. It's that easy. And for the color, I would say just keep it at a specific color. And as the name says, it lets you choose a specific color. You can either color pick or just click on the box and click on the color that you want to use and save it for later. Mixing curve is a little bit more advanced. The curve is kind of there to tweak the final result in case you do not want to touch the color points too much. It will push the gradient one way or the other. Not something I use too much, but really handy when I actually need it. And honestly, it's kind of hard to explain. So, the best way to do it is just to mess around with it as you're finished with your work and you put your gradient and you just want to tweak it a little bit and you feel like there's something missing. Another pro tip: you can mix and match how your gradient is actually applied. Let's say you have a finished painting and you want to make it more cohesive. Just grab a simple gradient and apply it. Now, play with the layer mode, set it to soft light or overlay. If you want to have it less effect and keep your values straight, maybe just set it to color mode. The biggest advice I have is to use opacity. Throwing a gradient at 10 to 20% opacity is something I love to do in my artwork. It's easy and makes for a really nice touch at the end. Chef's kiss. All right, so you made your gradient and set it on your canvas, and it looks like, I don't know what's the problem here. The gradient is applied to everything. Looks horrible. That's great. Thanks to Meal. That was great. CSP got you covered. It creates a blank mask for a gradient layer already. If you do not know how masks work, it's super simple. White shows and black hides. In CSP, you can grab any eraser you want and erase the part you do not want. It turns black. A quicker way would be filling everything with black first. Click on the mask, Control A, and then click Delete. This will make your mask black, aka remove everything. Now you can just pick a brush you like, paint it with white, showing the gradient. To remove it again, just pick an eraser and chisel away. The cool part is that you can also use lasso tools to select, fill, or delete the mask. Super fast and easy way to do it. If that is still confusing, let's just do a little demonstration so you can do it yourself. All right, so this is my painting that I made, and as you can see, it stands okay without the line. So make sure your values are good, make sure you have good form and shape. And this is not finished exactly, but it's good enough that you can start adding color with a gradient map. And to make yourself, easier life, you can go ahead and have everything in separate layers. So as you can see, almost everything that I have is different color. I have in different layers. So let's go ahead and, just in case, group all of this together. And then you duplicate it. And now I have the background separate. I have everything separate just in case if I want to mess with it. And let's start adding things. So first of all, I was struggling with the strawberries, but let's just go with the strawberry first. So let's go layer correction gradient map. So I want to clip it to this. So I do Control Alt G, and this is going to be the strawberry. Let's go into presets, and as we can see, there are some presets that are pretty good. Strawberries are kind of yellow. No, they're kind of red. More red than yellow, that's for sure. So let's honestly, the sunset one looks pretty good. It looks a little bit like a tomato, but that's fine. So we have this, and I don't think I need this one, and I don't think I need this one, or do I? Let's do it again. Again, this is gonna be raw, and hope this helps somebody. And you can see mixing curve helps a little bit with the thing right here. All right, so the yellow, I don't like the yellow because I want to add, I want to make my light a little bit more white. so it's easier to remember what is actually happening. Kind of like that, yeah. So a little bit more. And the mid-tone, I think, is what throws me off, is because it's a little bit orange. Let's go into reds a little bit. Yeah, kind of like that. And a little bit less saturated will help with the image. Yeah, so something like this. This is good. I like it. We can play with opacity a little bit if you want, if it's like a little bit too intense. Let's put it to, I think this is good. We can fix it later if we want. So this is the strawberry green. So that means that I have the strawberry. Let's go into layer, gradient map again, and find something that are more green. So we have this. It's not exactly what we need. And I'm just, looking through these. There's also separate adding gradients, stuff like that. I can pretty much download them probably. But I just want to start with something as a base. And so green, and let's say that our shadows are a little more purple. So I can just go ahead and do a little bit more purple. And again, as I did before, I want my light to be just a little bit yellow, a little bit white. And the problem is with my painting is, as you can see, I'm not pushing my things very, very bright. So if you go to make a, if you go into here, you can see this is actually 50%. So this is 50% gray. So this is why when you make the gradient, this where it's looking at, this is actually where I need it to be, right? So this is where it's looking at for the green. And so that is why it's not going to be as representative. But that's fine because I can just slide it around and adjust it to my liking. And I want a little bit more deeper green, that's for sure. So yeah, something like that. Something like that. A little bit maybe less saturated. And then I can push the whites just a little bit so that it feels, and then you can push the purples just a little bit. Yeah, this is good. And if you want, you can, save it to create new gradient. And it's greens. And now I have my greens in here. So I can reuse it whenever I want. So the next one, let's go into the syrup. The syrup is going to be probably the hardest because I really want to make it stand out. So let's go into actually right here. And I want just something neutral for my floor, something like yellowish wood or something like that. And let's make sure to clip it, which only affects the bottom layer. And I don't want anything too saturated. And we can adjust this as well. So I want something yellow wood. And honestly, I feel like the pastel shades are gonna work best for this. Let's see. Well, let's put it to maybe, yeah, something like 30%. And then our back is going to be probably a good idea to, honestly, you can just, color fill this, which, it doesn't have to be gradient layer, but since we're doing gradients, might as well just mess around with it. Let's do a little bit more, yeah, blue, because it's kind of going to be contrasting with the yellow and the pancake. And I feel like it's going to work well. As you can see, let's make a new layer, fill it with black, and put it on color. It kind of messes up my values just a little bit sometimes. Yeah, there you go. So you can see it made it brighter just a little bit, which is, not a big deal. That's why we have this color. So we can adjust it accordingly. And I can just go into hue and just darken it just like this. And honestly, after I'm done with all this, I'm gonna overpaint it anyway, like a little bit. So it's going to be not noticeable, to be honest. Let's go into blueberries. And blueberries are gonna be a little bit hard because blueberries are kind of tricky. Let's clip it again. And honestly, this is kind of what I'm looking for. So this is good. This is pretty good, except for the fact that I don't like this dark blue and I want to push it. Yeah, there we go. This is kind of what I'm looking for. This is exactly, yeah, this is almost as perfect as it gets, in my opinion, for the gradient map for this. Yep, that's it. And now I can just adjust it accordingly. And I will just choose this. And again, that we will go for a little bit purple shadows. And sometimes you want to just push it because it tries to mix all the colors together. And let's do this one and push it a little bit into purples. Maybe a bit too much. All right, so I did this and we want to make the whites again. And honestly, though, the white thing is not like not a good idea in most cases, but I'm just kind of messing around with this. And I'm changing the values of my painting. So kind of like that. And it's all, it doesn't have to be set in stone. You don't have to do it perfectly every time. And I think that the syrup is going to be easy. So I'm going from the easiest to the hardest. And the syrup is kind of unfinished. Honestly, this is the least finished thing. So that is why it's not going to be exactly what I want. Even if my gradient is perfect, it's still going to use my painting to affect it. So this is honestly this is close. This is close to what I want. Maybe a little bit more orange. We can also go into layer correction layer. If you like the everything else except like a little bit hue, just add like a little bit more orange to it, kind of like this, 5%. Yeah, there we go. And now we can go into the butter layer. There we go. Let's go gradient map. And butter, yeah, this is kind of what I want. Butter is very reflective, and I feel like I can push this a little bit more. Yep. And as I said before, just a little bit more purple. And maybe even push the darks just a little bit. And honestly, for this, you can maybe even go a little bit orange. Yeah, I kind of like this, but not too much. Yeah. And it's a little bit too bright. So we're going to keep this like that. And then the pancakes. The pancakes. All right, we go into here. And the pancakes are kind of what is going to be the most important part. This is almost, yeah, sunset gold is almost what I want. So, first of all, let's add a little bit red into darks because I really want to make sure that it's delicious looking. Okay, kind of a little bit lighter. Yeah, so this is kind of good. And then we can push the lights a little bit. Yeah, look at the crispy, crispy parts. And I feel like, okay, let's go back to the butter. I feel like the butter is just a little bit too strong right now. So we're just gonna push it down. And maybe I even make a new layer. And I just fill it with black. And just add just a little bit darkness to it. Because it's definitely overtaking the entire image. So the pancakes are pretty good. Maybe add a little bit more red. No, let's do more yellow. Maybe, yeah. I like it. I like it. Let's go into layer, correction layer, gradient map. And syrup is more like orangish. Oh, I put it below my. Let's do layer, correction layer, syrup. And syrup is kind of like this, but it has more orange in the middle. So let's go into here and just push it like here. And the brightness parts are going to be, so let's remove this. We have this, and syrup is very reflective, so I'm gonna just put it like almost pure white and see where I can push it. So this is kind of, yeah, so this is close. This is close, maybe a bit more red. And then we just want more. We can actually push this entire thing right here. And add, definitely needs more red in the shadows. Yep, that's exactly what I need. And the shadows could be a little bit more saturated, just like that. And so this is going to be the pancake. And it's kind of done. And honestly, this is definitely a learning thing. And after you're done, it's pretty good idea to just paint on top of this. So for example, I want to go back and just add more texture to the table. And honestly, it depends on what kind of. So let's just push a little bit of a texture right here. So now the table doesn't look too boring. And for the background, we can also push a little bit of a texture. So maybe a little bit, just add like a little painterly style to it, just for fun. It kind of frames the image a little bit better. And after this, we can go back with a watercolor brush, and now we can go back and just touch up some things. Like for example, I want a little bit more saturation in here. And this color definitely needs a little bit more saturation. And I can fix it in gradient maps, but some of it can be easily fixed in post, and some of it is easier in a gradient map. So I think it's definitely kind of a close call to what do you prefer doing. And honestly, I like to mix. I don't think you should be using only gradient map. It's like a good, really good way to start and touch up your entire image. So I have done this, and I can, for example, come here. I can group this, and then I can just do another gradient map, which is not going to be too strong. So I want a very simple gradient map that doesn't have a lot of points, kind of like this. And I want the bright parts to be kind of orangey, and the dark parts to be kind of purpley, maybe right here. So 50% right here. And this gives like a little cool effect to it. And let's get another point in the middle. This is going to be saturated, maybe a little bit red. And I can set this to soft or overlay or color. It really depends on what I'm going for, but I just set it to maybe very low opacity so that it kind of looks more cohesive. I think 28 is good. And now I can just go ahead and paint it away. Just add a little bit more yellow tones, for example, for this butter. And then I can start removing line work if I don't want it, because I already merged everything. I didn't merge, I put it all in the one group. And then I can just paint it away. Hope that helps, and happy painting. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I will try to answer them. And happy painting. And my strawberries look like they need help.